Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Burger. So we're going to have a look at this game stick which has about 10,000 games or so on it. It's kind of been touted as something of a Super Console Pro cheaper option type of thing that you plug into your TV. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started with the video. Okay guys, welcome to the video. So before we get started, I just have to say that this has been supplied to me from Kinhank for the purpose of this review. However, I'd like to state that this opinion is entirely my own. I've not sent this video to Kinhank to approve or check over before it's been submitted. Without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So it's basically called the Super Console S2, but it's obviously not really named that on here. It's called the Game Stick Lite. And it's kind of just like a HDMI stick that you can put into the back of your TV or monitor, and it's kind of touted as like a cheaper budget option compared to the Super Console X Pro and the like, which is probably well over $100 to purchase. This probably retails for about $40–45 on Amazon or direct on Kinhank's site, which I'll leave links in the description if you're interested to buy it. But it's got some information on here: connect to TV, classic games, blah 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 blah. You've got a couple of controllers in here as well, which is what the 2.4G wireless controller gamepad, and massive writing there. You've got some information in the back here, which is all a bit kind of a pointless, I guess. It says it's capable of doing 4K Ultra HD game stick, which I don't know. It seems a bit pointless when you're playing some of these old games. I think there's no really any massive need for all that, but yeah, it's pretty standard box. Let's have a quick bash open it up and I'll show you what it's like. So when you open the box up, this is what you're actually greeted with. It's actually the game stick itself, sort of in this little packaging, so to speak. There's also this little dongle which goes into the side of the unit so that it recognises your controllers, which we'll have a look at in a second. I'll just take that out. I'll put this to the side. We'll have a look at the rest of the box. In the rest of the box there is a couple of these controllers, which is, you've probably seen, if you've seen the Super Console X Pros, they're basically like PlayStation 4 knockoff controllers. They're very light, very cheap, but they actually are really functional. You've got even clicky in L3 and R3 buttons. This actually works pretty well. They look pretty cheap, feel cheap, but they actually work quite well. You have to insert the AAA batteries, 2 of them, into here so they actually work, and then they'll be picked up with the dongle when you insert it into the game stick. And that's that. There's 2 of them if you want to play 2-player games, which is quite cool. There's basically 2 of them, both exactly the same, no difference. Now you might find that the actual dongle is inside here. I've just moved it and I've inserted 2 batteries so that we can get playing properly. Also in the box you've got, this is a micro, I think it's a micro USB-C, I think, and a normal USB, this is actually a charge cable. Now it is very short. You have to actually have this inserted to the USB slot in your TV, or maybe need to find a longer cable and connect it to the mains so that you can actually power the unit. Also in here is like an extension, HDMI extension cable, in case this unit doesn't fit, it's too wide to fit in your TV, which is quite handy because a lot of TVs you probably won't be able to fit this in. It might be too wide or be awkward, so this is included in case you need to use it. There's also an instruction manual in the box. There's a kind of an instruction manual, and there's lots of different variations in the languages included, but I didn't really find this much useful, to be honest. It just tells you a little bit of information about the controllers, the unit, the power of it. So it does have a memory card included in it. It says maximum support 128 gig, which, yeah, okay. But yeah, it's pretty low powered and low function. This is what it'll look like when you actually turn it on. It's got a nice sort of front end, I guess. It seems pretty cool. There's a lot of information here. You can actually add your own games if you want as well. You can have a read at this if you wish, but yeah, this is all the sort of emulators and games that it's included with. not sure if there's scope to add different stuff that's not included here. I guess if it's not really already included, that might be doubtful. It is very much plug and play, which you'll find out in a second. Let's have a look at the stick before we actually plug it into our TV. So this is it. We'll turn it around a little bit. Game Stick Lite, it says, which is otherwise known as the Super Console S2. And it's pretty basic. These light up when it's actually plugged in. It needs to be powered by that little cable that I showed. You see you've got your micro SD card, which I've already had a look at. And it's basically, let's see, this is included. It's a 64 gig memory card that's included in the actual unit, and it has lots of games already installed on it, as normal with these type of things. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know, that's up to you to decide. But yeah, that's already included, lots of games already. There's nothing else really to say. There's a power here for sound, I guess. Well, this is probably like some kind of cooling unit, because it does heat up quite a bit. And here you've got your USB, and this is where you'll put your power cable into and connect. Now there's one thing I had to note here is that I felt the emulation wasn't amazing, and I tried using a power socket instead of just a USB, but it didn't actually make any difference. So you might want to get a longer cable, because the one supplied is super short. If it doesn't reach an available USB slot for you, you might need a longer cable here. But let's open up, and this is what you're greeted with. So it's basically an HDMI slot. Slot this into your TV or unit or monitor, whatever you're going to use, and it's plug and play. And it is pretty much plug and play. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the games that are included and see how this thing emulates and how it actually performs. Okay, once you get set up, this is what it looks like on a relatively small monitor. The one thing that sort of jumps out right away is the rather annoying sound, which can be turned off, which I'll show you in a little second. But yeah, there is a supplied USB power cable with it, but it's so tiny, so you would have to have the USB slot basically on your TV or monitor and right next to this to actually power it. So if you don't have a USB stick on your TV or a USB slot next to your TV, then you will probably have to get a longer cable to enable to power the actual device. So just a little warning before we get started. But yeah, I'm going to put this onto the sort of larger TV so you can get a better look, and I'll talk you through what I'm doing and play through some of these games. Okay guys, so once you've got your device set up onto your chosen TV, monitor, whatever, I'd recommend a smaller monitor or a smaller TV, because sometimes the larger screen sort of TVs definitely produce a little bit of lag. But anyway, that's just my opinion. But yeah, the first thing you probably want to do is get rid of those annoying beeps, because they are really irritating. You've got a lot of games to go through here. It says there's 12,000 odd pages, so maybe about 10,000 games or so. I don't know, 10 times 12,000 pages, I guess. So there's at least 12,000 games on here. There's probably a lot of duplicates, I guess, just typical of these sort of devices. There's probably some ROMs here that don't work properly as well. But anyway, let's go through some of the options. We'll go to the settings quickly just to get rid of those annoying beeps. You use your L1 and R1 to go through the top settings at the top here. And I'll do the settings first. So you got some language options, you got button tone setting, a few different options. They're all just as equally irritating, to be honest. I'm not sure you want them, so I'll just put them on mute. Then we can sort of move. And you can reset software version, and that tells you some details there. So there's also a search option here, but it looks kind of awful, to be honest. It says an example there. You want to find Metal Slug, you will not find Metal Slug if you put in or sort of type in the words metal, which is kind of a bizarre, and it is very slow. But if you put in MS as it says there, let's see if that actually works, you might find Metal Slug somewhere in there. But yeah, it doesn't have a great search function at all, so you'll probably have to go through and search it manually, I think. So, but it is what it is. So down, I'm not really sure what that actually is. This is probably something. Anyway, this is the favourites. If you want to add one of the games to your favourites, you press R2 button. I'll go to the actual list and I'll show you what I mean. So you press R2, it puts a little heart in it, and it sort of sticks it into the favourite column, just like that. So that's pretty straightforward. That's probably the easiest way, rather than the search function. When you find a game that you like, just press R2 and it'll drop it into the favourite list. You've got your history, all the games you've probably played recently, so that's another quick way maybe of finding some games quickly that you've already played and liked. Class, this sort of breaks it down into the different options. You've got MAME, Famicom, NES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Mega Drive, Super Famicom or Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1 games, and Atari 2600 games. That's it. You can add more games to this if you want. If you put the memory card into a PC, you will be able to add your own ROMs to this, I guess. I've not really tried it. I'm not really going to look at it much, to be honest. And what you see here is basically what you get. So this is basically a plug and play device. So the games here, you just press the button and play. It's pretty simple. There are some save options as well, which I'll go through when we're playing. But I found some of the emulation wasn't amazing. I mean, for the price tag is okay, but you probably could get far better, but you were going to have to probably pay more as well. But yeah, I'll play through some of the games that are here. I'll maybe have a quick browse. You can see, you can actually scroll through them quickly by pressing the R2 button in it. Sorry, the right button on the D-pad, or left to go back quickly, and you go 10 increments at a time. You see there are plenty of games here to choose from. Now this is just play the game. There's no options to actually change any of the emulation. You can't change the shaders. You can't really do a heck of a lot with it. You can save your progress. That's it. So if you don't really like tinkering, you don't want to mess about, you just want to plug and play, this is probably the device for you. Albeit it's not the greatest emulated device you'll ever play, but if you don't like tinkering, then this is probably one for you. If you want to play on your TV, that is. There are better options out there, I think, but for the price tag, I guess is okay. So let's have a look at some of the other games. I'll just quickly browse through here before I play some games, and you can have a look at the emulation for yourself. And you can see here there are duplicated ROMs. You can look at that. There's different versions of 8eyes. There's a Japanese version, US version. There's 4 versions of the US version. For some reason, don't know why. So is there 12,000 games in here? I very much doubt it. I'm sure there's thousands of games, but there's a lot of duplicates. You could probably half that number, I guess, by the time you get to it, or maybe drop off a few hundred, a few thousand, I guess. But yeah, you can see there's a lot of duplicates, which is a little bit cheaty. Don't get it. They've basically just drag dropped whatever they've done with all the ROMs, and that's what you get. So let's have another look. Let's look at Game Boy Color. There's quite a lot of games in there. Some of them you'll probably recognise. Pretty sure. Let's maybe jump to Super Mario, see if we've got some Super Mario games in there. Now there are a few dodgy ROMs. I'll maybe play a few as an example, just so you can see what I mean. But yeah, there's a few Super Mario games in here. Obviously this isn't fully licensed, so it's a little bit dodgy, so to speak, but it is what it is. So if you feel a wee bit, you don't feel comfortable with that, then you might want to avoid. Yeah, there's loads of Game Boy Advance games as well. Game Boy Color. Oh, there's plenty to choose from. The maximum was going to play is PS1, but yeah, I didn't think the emulation was particularly great. I think that the unit probably does lack a bit of power, to be honest, to be able to play those PlayStation games, or the harder to emulate stuff. There's tons and tons of Mega Drive titles in there. Super Famicom, oh. Super Nintendo. There's tons of stuff again. Obviously I can't go through all of these games at all. It's obviously going to be impossible to do. PlayStation ones, I don't think there'll be as many PlayStation games. There's 6 pages of that. There's a few here. I'm not recognising all of these. Solid Driver. I'm not sure if they'll all work. Again, some of the ROMs didn't work for me. Some were not great versions of the ROMs. I've got Ridge Racer, Silent Hill. I have no idea how these will all work, but we'll have a look at a couple of them. Got Tekken. That'll be interesting. Yes. Okay, and the last one, Atari 2600 games, which is kind of cool. We've got a few favourites here. I do like a few of these, but yeah, these are obviously really old. I think they look like Atari 2600 games. Yeah, they are. I'm not really sure if there's like 5200 or 7800 jumped in there. I'm not sure. Probably just 2600. Okay guys, before we get started, I just wanted to highlight something of the save states, screen ratios, that kind of basic stuff. Now some ROMs, if you sort of choose them, they probably won't work. We'll just jump straight back to this screen. This is the main list, which just lists everything in sort of alphabetical order, or alphanumerical order, I should say. But if I jump into a game, and this is probably a good example of things that aren't particularly right. This is obviously like a vertical aspect ratio game, but it's been stretched to the full screen and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no options to change the settings. Basically what you see is what you get, which is kind of annoying a little bit. But yeah, you can obviously start playing the game. It's fine. There's maybe some sound issues, I thought. It just sounds a bit raspy at times. The emulation's a bit hit and miss. It's not perfect. There's probably some frame rating issues as well in some other games. But some of your basic stuff like this is actually fine. It plays absolutely perfectly fine. But beware, not everything's going to run perfectly smooth or perfectly well or sound amazing. But yeah, as I was going to say, if you press the start and select button, you will get to this screen here, which is your save state, load state. So if you want to load in a game you previously saved, this is where you come. And if you want to save your progress as well, obviously this is what you do. But quick game, you just press set, select and start, and then you quick game out and it takes you straight back to here again. And that's it. Pretty basic, but what I'm going to do is play through a game or two from each of the different options in here, and then we'll wrap up and I'll give you my overall thoughts at the end of the video.
Samurai Lee versus Round 1, fight! Samurai loses.
Mission 1, start!
Rage Racer. 3, 2, 1, go! The race is on. Show 'em what you've got. 3 laps to go.
Round 1. Fight.
Okay guys, so my overall thoughts of this game stick. Now, I have to be honest, my first thought says I really wouldn't recommend it. However, if you are on a sort of smaller budget, then I suppose $40–45 isn't too bad for all the games you actually get. But as you can probably tell from the footage, the emulation, it really is all over the place. There's a lot of games, yep, but probably not the amount of games that does say on the pack with 10, 12,000, whatever it is, but it's nowhere near that. There's certainly thousands of games on there. There's a few different varieties of formats. Some of them, the emulation really is all over the place. There's a lot of audio breakup, there's a lot of slowdown, there's a lot of screen tearing. You probably noticed that as well. That's not the sort of capture card, that's definitely how it was. Lots of screen tearing in different games. There's a bit of lag sometimes, the frame rates are all over the place. Obviously there's dodgy ROMs. Maybe it's not powerful enough. I mean, I did try connecting it in different ways, maybe using sort of power straight to the mains, but it didn't make any difference. The results were always the same. It just doesn't seem like the unit is powerful enough to do what it's wanting to do. It certainly needs a little bit of tweaks here and there. And a lot of the ROMs are obviously in the incorrect screen ratios as well, so you're going to have to put up with that when you're actually playing. There's no way to change the emulation options either, so it is a bit frustrating. And there's nothing you can do about it. You really just have to play. It's plug and play, so what you see is what you get. If you don't like it, that really is tough. And it kind of seems to me that definitely PS1 is probably a step too far for it. Like Tekken was actually okay, but obviously you've seen the other one, like Crash Bandicoot, there was a heck of a lot of slowdown, and Streets of Rage was just basically a no-go area. And some of the other stuff as well, like even the Atari 2600 emulation wasn't particularly great on it, which was kind of surprising. Like that should be able to play on anything really, but yeah, it was very hit and miss. But yeah, my overall thoughts, not really going to recommend it, I'm afraid. But if you're on a tight budget and you want to spend $40 to pick up something like that to just have a random play, some of the games are certainly playable and you can have a lot of fun with it. But if you've got more money to burn, then I would probably recommend looking at maybe like your Super Console X Pro or something like that, which is going to give you far better emulation. They are more expensive, but for that extra money you are getting what you pay for. But with this, you're going to have to lower your expectations. The emulation really isn't particularly great all over the place. Some stuff's good, some stuff is really, really bad. Like obviously the Metal Slug stuff was pretty poor as well. Even the Game Boy Advance was kind of all over the place at times too. Like playing Doom was pretty awful. But anyway guys, that's my thoughts. Thanks very much for watching. If you want to buy, I'll leave some links in the description where you can just have a look and make your own choice. Anyway, thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.